Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel. I'm watching through the window here. Luke Willson's out there. He's afraid to come in studio because he knows what's happening here. He knows that Hayes and company
are heating up.
Well, found a heater here, man. I mean, I'm 5-1 in my last 6. The only blunder was Cowboys at Niners, which admittedly was a terrible pick. But I'm on the clock for the game tonight, and we haven't heard officially if Trevor Lawrence is playing. I think he'll play.
I read
50-50,
he's playing.
Yeah, well, they're saying a game-time decision, but I feel like that's Doug Peterson trying to throw off the opposition, where this actually would adjust game planning for New Orleans.
In football, are you allowed to say game-time decision?
Not
like I feel
generally.
like there's rules, right?
Yes, there are, but I think he would be on the injury report, which he is, right? And it's always like questionable, doubtful,
right.
Downgrade. They downgrade based on that. So I think technically it still can be a game-time decision, but if he's not in, it's C.J. Beathard, I believe.
That's a big drop-off.
A significant drop-off. And Nathan Rourke, though, will be that much closer to actually getting some reps in here because he'll be the backup.
Right.
Like he's dressing tonight. He is there. He is now on the 53-man roster. But
what I don't understand is if he's on the practice roster, is he making more cake than he would?
Yes, he'd be. I don't know how much he'd make on the practice roster, but I wouldn't be surprised. $400,000 American, $500,000 American. We're up here. He was a young guy too, right? In the Canadian Football League. Like, if he stayed in the CFL and kept playing the way he was playing, he would have been the highest paid player in the league, and they would have paid him a lot of money. I'm sure NBC to stay. Maybe to Toronto, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan. I don't know where he would have ended up.
Right.
But practice squad, you can make good bank down there. And if you get onto the 53-man roster, and I believe you stay on it for 3 games, then you accrue a full season, you start making bank. And then next year, even if you're on the practice squad, I think it's like $900,000
really?
American or something like that.
That's
like they
solid.
pay the practice squad good money down there. So
that's insane.
That's big money. Big money, and shout out to Nathan Rourke. Hopefully, we at least see him on TV tonight. Think we get a shot of him tonight. Think Al Michaels knows who Nathan Rourke is.
I'm grabbing a clipboard and I'm grabbing the most famous guy in the sideline. I'll right beside the head coach. They always pan to the head coach.
That's right. Just go and do a little stop and chat with Doug Peterson when they're in the red zone.
That's what you need to do. Grab a clipboard.
Right behind Doug Peterson the whole game.
And just act like you're whispering tips to him and he just shakes his head.
That's a great idea.
Luke, when he comes in, I'm going to ask this question because it's always bothered me. I don't know how you guys feel when there he is.
Pro athlete salute. Thank you.
Where the guys are on the field and then on comes people with water. And then they've got to spray it into your mouth.
Yeah.
Like you can't take the bottle and spray it yourself. There's a person that's spraying it into your mouth.
Like you're a Greek god or something.
Dude, what's up with those dudes, Luke? Like the guys that come and spray the water bottles, as if guys can't do it on their own.
To be honest with you, it wasn't a college thing. And when I got to the league, everyone does it. So I just followed suit.
But I just never understood.
So you did that yourself?
You just turn and there's a guy standing there with water, and you're like, okay.
Outrageous.
I just think of like meetings at bars, and it's like, I'm in the NFL. Oh yeah, what do you do? Well, when the players are on the field, I go out there and I have a water bottle and I give it to the players.
Bobby Boucher.
Oh, cool. Like, and I'm not like saying it's a clown job, but it's like, why can't they get the water themselves?
I always wondered that, or even just grab it and squirt the water in
That's
your own
it.
mouth.
Yeah, it seems doable.
But it's a thing, and I got superstitious for the point where, like, let's say I had the one water guy and I had a bad drive or we went 3-and-out. I was like, I'm not drinking from that guy's water the rest of the game.
Get that guy out of here.
So I would find another water guy.
That guy would be ready to squirt.
Yeah,
get the hell out of
I'll
here.
take his
How
bottle
many
over there.
water guys are there on the sideline?
6 or 7.
You got 6 or 7 water
For
bottle
sure.
guys.
They're all the athletic trainers. So the head guy usually doesn't, but then like the 5 or 6 athletic trainers are all, they've got the 6-pack of water.
Wow.
One of them has a little ring on it. That's the electrolyte one.
Have you ever seen like someone just get the hell away from me and get that what? Don't even think about coming near me ever again.
There's been a few times where even like trainers will go up and be like, "Oh, like, is your knee okay?" And especially some of the linemen will just like absolutely rip these guys a new one. Like, exactly what you
outta
said,
here.
but a profanity-laced like tirade, and then they got to go apologize after the game. Yeah.
Like it's so unnecessary.
The guy's trying to do his job.
Checking in on your well-being.
Yeah.
But these
Man.
guys are in the zone. They
I
don't want to
hear
hear
ya.
some guy checking his knee or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like, I just always wondered that. I just, you're standing there. Like, I feel like it was maybe then the Netflix special. Like, Mahomes was standing there and somebody walked up and just, like, gave him some water.
Right.
Like,
Not
just
to
grab
be-
the
yeah.
bottle and
Game's over. He's got no helmet
What's-
on.
Yeah.
It's still happening.
What's strange is like you just sit there and like you just open your mouth
Yeah,
up.
like, you're just like a kid.
Not a thank you or
ridiculous.
anything. Just move now.
Hey, we were
Out of
talking
the way.
about Nathan Rourke in the practice squad. Like, the guys make bank on the practice squad?
I don't know. I think it's over $100,000. I think it's 150.
Someone just sent me a note saying it's $12,000 a week he makes.
Yeah.
So if he's on that, that's 20
Times-
weeks. You're talking 240
Okay,
grand
but you just
American a
said
year.
400.
I thought it was 400.
No,
400 Canadian.
400 would be
That's
high.
400 Canadian.
The 400 would be too high, I think. But I bet it's somewhere in the. So we get paid if it's 12,000 times 18, because we get paid during the bye week.
It's a good amount of money.
216.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
216?
Yeah.
That was always like.
That's still a good amount of money.
Very good money.
216 American. It's not 400. but
Yes, but one of
Canadian
the things
it is.
that would happen with guys
Pesos.
when it comes to like the Canadian league is it'd be like, okay, in not every position because it doesn't translate like that, but receiver was the big one where it'd be like, okay, I could be on this practice squad and I'm making way more money than I would in the CFL.
Yeah.
Like it's not even comparable. But the flip side is if I go to the CFL, I'll play.
Right.
Where like the practice squad is a strange ordeal in the NFL because you always hear that like one guy who's like, oh, he started on the practice squad. But for every one of those, there's hundreds that have just never made it off that squad.
Right.
And they've just been beaten down in practice. They spend their 2 or 3 years. Now they're considered old and they'd rather have a young guy. You don't get a credited season, so you're not eligible for. Again, so if it's your only option,
Right.
it's obviously great.
What you're saying, though, after 2 or 3 years, it's a dead-end road and you'll disappear.
Correct. For
But-
90% of those
But
guys.
those, are
yes.
those, like, are they allowed to? This is awful, but I would. Did they get to eat with you guys? Like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
practice squad is like over here, and you're not allowed to talk to the main guys. Like, is there?
It's pretty like.
there are like rules.
Yeah,
type of
no,
thing?
I would say it's for us, and this is every team I've been on. The practice squad guys, there's only 8. I think at one point it's 8. Now they bumped it to 10.
Okay.
They're considered like part of the team. Now, the only weird one was I want to say it wasn't Seattle. Like in Seattle, they would travel with us. They'd be at the hotel. It might have been Detroit under Matt Patricia, where he was kind of like, no, practice squad guys aren't going.
Yeah, I know.
Where I found that weird because these dudes grind during the week. Like a lot of them, because it's a smaller roster, will go both ways in practice. Like
Really?
you'll have guys that are like a linebacker playing fullback on the practice squad and you're going against their ones. And for anyone who knows, like, especially if a team's struggling, they'll script the play so that the scout team looks like trash.
And
So
just
like
gets destroyed.
Right. So it's like you're at a disadvantage to begin with. So just you get beat down all week.
that's
it's
awful.
It's a tough gig.
Yeah, I was reading earlier, I swear it was an internal email about how if Rourke is on the roster for at least 3 games, that
Yes.
counts as an accrued season.
Correct.
So then next year he'll make like $900,000.
Yes.
Even if he's on the practice squad. Does that make sense?
It does. There's
Okay,
a lot
so
of
this is,
weird
in other words,
rules.
this is big for him. Like if Lawrence is banged up and he stays on the team, this could be huge for his career.
It can be, but on the flip side, I get a little nervous. Like, I gotta be careful with these words here. I don't know who his agent is, and I've met kind of virtually Nathan, and everyone I've spoken to had a college teammate that played with him in BC. They say this guy is just an incredible dude in the locker room, great player, etc. I thought it was very strange that he would sign with Jacksonville, and like where my head goes is this injury with Lawrence is not. I don't think is great for him right now because, yes, he got activated, but when I hear like, yo, now he's $900,000, if he doesn't play a snap, that means that now he's a $900,000 quarterback.
And no one's going to want that necessarily.
So it's like, hey, are we going to take an extra $600,000 to pay this guy we've never seen, or are we going to go with somebody else out of Rice University,
Right.
and give a flyer on him?
Right.
So that's where it gets like that whole practice squad world gets so gray to me because everyone's like, oh, man, you get the extra money. When it's like if his goal is to play, which I think it is.
Sure.
Sometimes you got to get lucky. You got to get in the right situation. But it's like if you get to that spot where you're now active, but you've never really played a snap because Lawrence is still playing, you almost price yourself out of opportunities.
The dream scenario is the Purdy scenario where your team's unbelievable
Yes.
and they flip through a couple QBs and it's fantasy land. You end up with the job and you keep winning.
Right.
Yes. That's the dream scenario of that situation.
The dream scenario. Now, it's not possible for that scenario to exist because even if Trevor Lawrence had a season-ending injury, he's the QB1 next year. And the year after that, and the year after that. So it's not going to happen in Jacksonville, but you need a platform to get out of Jacksonville.
That's where
you need
my
game
thought.
tape, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And it's like this year, I wasn't watching a ton of Jacksonville preseason, but I believe their backup's Beathard.
Yes, Beathard, and he will be the guy tonight if Lawrence doesn't play.
Yeah, so again, if Beathard lays an egg tonight, we might see Nathan Rourke, but based on Beathard's time in the past, he seems like a pretty standard backup quarterback, pretty safe, that sort of situation. And again, you go from like a GM's perspective. We all love this Nathan kid. He's Canadian, we all love that. But GMs aren't looking at it like that. They're saying, okay, this kid got beat out by C.J. Beathard in camp. Whether or not there were politics that played into that, the Detroit Lions aren't going to sit there and be like, oh, he actually is better than C.J. Beathard, but there's politics there. So that's where I get a little nervous for this whole situation. The best thing for Nathan Rourke would be to somehow find a way onto the field. And that's where, again, when I saw a few tweets are like, he's going to make $900,000. It's obviously a lot of money, but as far as he goes, like, I get nervous where if he ends up spending 2-3 years as a third-string guy, getting these accrued seasons, it's great for the bank account in the short term, but if he wants these dreams of like, hey, I'm going to be a starter in this league one day, it's going to make it, I'm not saying impossible, it's just going to make it tougher.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Trevor Lawrence, a game-time decision tonight. I feel like he's going to play. I think he said the other
You
day.
should take the Jags tonight.
I'm leaning towards it, but here's why I'm not sure I'm going to. Because their schedule, this is a really strange schedule for them. 2 weeks in London, they come home, they win a home game. Now they're on the road, short week. New Orleans is a good defense. New Orleans keeps games tight. I expect it to be a tight game tonight, but this feels like almost like a premeditated loss for the Jags. And I think if Lawrence plays tonight, I think they'll be very conservative. I expect they run the ball a ton. I think with a bad knee on turf, at a dome too, I don't think that's great on a short week. I don't know. I think he'll play. But I expect the playbook to be very conservative tonight, which I think feeds into New Orleans. The concern for me is I hate Derek Carr under the lights. Hate Derek Carr in a primetime game where you need
I don't
to
like
do
him
something.
anytime.
I'm not a big fan of him at any point.
Does he have a fresh dip though? He gets the shoe polish in.
Occasionally he can and will.
Well,
But you know what?
what's your pick?
Well,
So before you say it,
yeah, go ahead.
me and Partsy have already chatted.
A lot.
Yeah, lots. We'll get to that soon. We understand we had a small slip up on Monday.
Yeah.
I'll own that. Very unfortunate. Chargers let us down. But this is a real week now. No more. There's no layups on the table this week is the separator, Hayes.
This is the separator.
The men from the boys.
This is a really tough game. Like I like the Jags. I think they're a better team. I don't have any doubt about that. If Lawrence was 100%, I think that this would be a pick 'em. Maybe even money coming in, moving Jacksonville to like -1, -1.5.
Go with them then. Go with them.
No.
Come on,
I know
man.
you're trying to
Go with
reverse
the
psychology
Jags.
me into taking them because you want the Saints. That's the thing. Like, you think I'm stupid here? I'm gonna take New Orleans tonight. I will lay the points 1.5. I think New Orleans is a pretty good team. I think they're a strong defensive team. They're tight games, but I don't like the recent schedule
Man,
of
you don't
Jacksonville.
look comfortable right now.
I don't. I'm not overly comfortable in the game. And I think
Be
Jags are a
honest,
better
I always
team.
got to do this. If it was our pick, who would you be taking on behalf of us?
Do you want my honest answer or do you want my answer after you pick the Saints?
The answer.
Honest answer.
Honest answer, I would have taken the Saints.
Okay. There you go.
But now,
Because
what's
of
the
Lawrence,
line? Is it
because of the
2?
schedule, it's -1.5.
1.5 now.
Lock that in, Doogie, quick before it moves.
By the way,
1.5.
Doogie, what a name.
Doogie. And he's
Doogie
doing
Howser,
great work.
man. He's a legend. And look at him. He's gorgeous back there, and he gets things done.
And he's 14 years old.
He's an up and comer in the industry.
Yeah.
Watch yourself. He'll be on SportsCenter before you know it.
I belive it.
It's coming.
Host
happening.
I also think the Saints should be better than what they've been.
3-3.
Like, I look at defensively, they've been good. Offensively, to me, it's like they've got Olave, who's solid. I still am a believer in Mike Thomas. Shaheed, the other guy. They got
Kamara, still a stud.
Williams is back. And I sit here and I'm like, man, why can't they get this done? And like, Derek Carr's got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
He's got
That's the
weapons.
concern, is Derek Carr. Like, they blew that game in Green Bay where they were up 17-0. They threw that game away, partially because the Packers came back, but also he just needed to put 3, 6, 7 more points on the board. That game's over. He is the issue. I mean, they acquired him with the expectation that Jameis Winston's done.
Yes.
You know, the Andy Dalton stuff is done. You have a solidified true quarterback who's a middle-of-the-pack guy. They know who they got.
Yeah.
He's a middle-of-the-pack guy, but he has not played up to that potential. And, that division's up for grabs. The NFC South is completely wide open.
It is, but they should be running away with it. Like, I spent a camp with the Raiders when they were in Oakland, and, like, Carr has physical attributes. And he can run, like he can extend plays as well. He can sling the ball around. I was looking at, I'm not like a diehard stats guy, but I was like, something is weird here. Like, what is going on? They run, I think they're like 30th in the league with pre-snap motions, and they're number 1 right now with deep ball attempts.
Yeah.
Like, they're basically just
That's
lining
his
up
game, man. I
and
swear.
hawking it.
And he throws picks
It's
at brutal
like,
times.
Dude, like, take a few things mediocre, get the chains moving a little bit, and then you can start hawking it.
That's right.
It's very strange to me.
It's very aggravating. And I can already picture him throwing a horrible pick tonight.
If that happens, we're live. This is the separator week.
This is a big separator week.
I could see the Saints winning by 1 point tonight.
I could see that. I could see 21-20. I really could. The
Whoever
total's
loses
like
this
39.
weekend has to come on here Monday and say, I suck and you own us.
Sure. I'll happily take
Like,
it.
if you get blown out
That's
this
a
weekend, you
50-50.
have to say,
Yeah.
Hayes and Company sucks and Owen Wilson owns me.
Keep
Fine.
in mind, that's a 50-50. You got to
right.
come on here on Monday, too.
That's
Things
right.
go
And
south.
and I get to hear it twice.
Double down.
I get to hear it from
He
two
didn't
different
agree
people.
to
RC
it.
will speak on
He
behalf of
didn't
the
agree
club.
to it.
No, I want both. I want both speaking at the same time.
He'll write a note and he'll have to read it. That's
Yes.
the problem.
You see news this week that the Olympic Games, they're adding a bunch of different sports starting in 2028, including flag football.
I think this is nonsense.
I think
I'm
it's
sorry.
absurd too, but
It's awful.
You tell me you wouldn't represent Canada? Why wouldn't you go play?
He could do it right now.
Because I think the NFL, they claim they're encouraging players to go over there and do it. Like,
Yeah.
Why would an NFL player, if they're highly paid, even think about going to play flag
Mekhi
football?
Parsons already said he's thinking about putting together a dream team.
I keep seeing these things. It's the 2028 Olympics.
Yeah.
It's 5 years away. I'm like, these guys are like, oh, I'm going to go. There's a lot that can happen between now and 5 years.
Right.
So I think that is ridiculous, too. I don't think a lot of guys have watched flag football. Not that I've seen much of it. But the field is, like, wildly small. Mm-hmm. Like,
Oh, it's a totally different beast.
it's not really, like,
But isn't it
NFL
like
football.
doesn't it set up to be the most ridiculous event ever? If it's like Mahomes,
That's my next thing. It's like-
guys just slinging it in the NFL.
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
it-
Yeah, but Micah Parsons, what does he think? He's going to go over there and rip people's heads
but
off?
that's
It's
my
flag
thing. You're not
football.
coming around the edge and taking some guy's life into your hands.
Well,
you
they're
got to
wearing
catch them.
gear? They're probably not wearing
No.
gear.
Yeah, you
right?
got
It's just
the two flags.
wear a belt with. You know who we should talk to is the flag football master, James Duthie.
I was going to say, I've heard stories about this
Yeah.
guy.
Duthie claims he was like the
Like legitimately
The Wayne
ranked
Gretzky of
highly.
flag football.
Yes, he was a 5-star recruit.
yeah.
But here's my next question. If this is an idea to, like, grow the game, like I keep saying, I don't know if it's all garbage, but they're like, oh, the NFL's encouraging players to get involved. It's like, if I was the NFL, I would make a rule like no current and or former players can go, because like you said, they're going to go over there with a dream team and win by 200 against some country that
But what if they get dummied? Like, what if it's a totally different setup? And I don't know the rules. Like, do you have to count steamboats before you can rush the quarterback?
I'm pretty sure you can go right away, but you have to, like, be 5 yards off the line of scrimmage.
But even then, could you imagine Parsons
Yeah, but that's
coming
the thing.
at
He's
you?
not allowed to
terrifying?
chew on you.
Baker sitting, he's the rush guy.
Yeah.
You know,
some guy in a
just like,
3-point stance.
Yes, boom, rips, or even somebody like Tyreek's the rush guy, runs a 4-2 just right
Just
at your head.
frothing, and he just wants to destroy you.
But you're not allowed to.
No,
That's
I know,
the
you can't
thing. He'll
touch
go,
the guy.
pull my flag. Sorry.
That's why I think it
Like,
could set
that's
up to be embarrassing for the Americans, because they're going to be coming in, thinking we're just going to run roughshod all over everybody. And what if there's some country over there, somewhere around the world, that
5 straight years of flag football
just
grinding.
like so much speed,
Exactly.
and they run the perfect route, and they know how to dance with the flags, and you can't
Protect the flag.
Yeah, see, there it is. It's up here right here. Look at this. Like, there's basically flag football.
Man, oh,
It's up on
man.
ESPN right now. Now, that's actually, I think,
That is ridiculous,
Dan Moore
and I
for
would
the game
never,
tonight,
I would
but-
never watch anything like that.
yeah, I don't see how that's
agree?
going to be something that will work.
Another
long
wild
term.
one that I don't think the NFL has like really given thought to is this is kind of a fun one from my Seattle days, but we would get fined every offseason for practicing too hard. So like there's all these CBA rules where you can't do, certain levels of intensity in the offseason.
What
so
the hell who's measuring that?
They tape a practice and submit them to the union.
You're kidding me.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
someone
yeah.
at the union.
Looks at it and is like, this is way
That's too
too
much.
aggressive for May OTAs. This
Wow.
is OTAs, not camp. So we go the one year, and a lot of it ended. Let me rephrase that. It wasn't so much the practices. We would get in full-blown brawls in OTAs, and that was always the one where the union would be like,
Yeah.
Maybe this is
okay,
a
that
problem.
That I could understand.
yeah. So we go, and Pete comes in one year, and he's like, hey, I'm not getting fined this year, because I think the year before we had lost like a day or two of practice, and they're taking chunks out of Pete's check or this organization, whatever. He's like, so we're going to do OTAs with no helmets on. And we're like, okay, so you're literally wearing shorts, T-shirt, and backward ball cap maybe, similar to flag football. Well, I kid you not, the first day, we got 2 young kids going at it, receiver and a DB, running a route, catches it. The DB's going just to tag off, similar to like, I'm going to go grab a flag. And the receiver like puts his foot in the ground. It was a hook route, so his back's turned, and turns violently the other way. They hit square, head on head. One guy needed plastic surgery. The other guy was out with a conky for the rest of the year.
Oh, my God.
It was like a.
So Pete was on the
gruesome.
hook for that.
I think we lost an entire week of OTAs. It was like some absurd amount of money, and they were threatening taking a draft pick away, which we were able to negotiate out of. And my point is, like, again, what happens in this league where you have a guy like Tyreek Hill who's lightning fast, and even if it's Canada, get some Canadian DB that's like, yo, I got to drive the
I gotta
hell
lay
out of
this
this
guy
route.
out.
Yeah.
And I'm going for a flag. We both have no helmets on.
Terrifying.
It's like somebody's
stupid.
going to get hit.
Yeah. It's so stupid. It's like, honestly, playing, it's a ball hockey at the Olympics, and there's McDavid running up and down. Like, it just, it doesn't even
Weird.
make sense.
But the good news about that week off was electric. I went straight to Vegas. I was like, man, we should get more brawls.
That is actually a really good idea. I'm guessing Pete Carroll didn't make it there, considering he was short on money at that point. Yeah, the Vegas, is that the go-to spot when you have a bye week or anything like that? Like, how the percentage of the league that goes, we're just going to Vegas for a few days?
I would say 50 and above Vegas. LA's not a big spot for the NFL guys. Arizona, Scottsdale has become one.
Really?
But low key for Seattle, Vancouver was a huge destination.
Yes.
And I ended up kind of being like our team, like mayor of Vancouver. I got a lot of love up there from the Canadians.
Yeah, sure.
So even the other day, they had the Thursday night game. I got the call from Lockett, and they're like, yo, we're going up to Vancouver. Where should we stay?
There you go. Hook it
I
up.
got you boys, man.
You're still playing that, but concierge
Yeah.
when it goes to Vancouver.
It's an electric town for one night. I understand Vancouver maybe gets a little small, but if you're going up there for a weekend, I don't know how it was playing the Canucks.
Yeah. They did well.
The
It was
catch and
number
release
2 on
town.
the stop. It was number 2 on the stop.
Yeah,
Especially the western side. It was Calgary Cowboys, Vancouver Roxy. And then Edmonton,
Yeah.
you hung out and relaxed. Like,
Yeah, you order
like-
food in, bring the
Edmonton,
video
you just
games
caught
up.
up with sleep.
Yeah, that's just a little stop. Well, you really wanted 2 points in Edmonton so you could party when you went to Vancouver.
I don't
or
know.
Calgary, I'm sure, for that matter.
Man, oh man. Yeah, Vancouver did well on the circuit.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
For sure.
Very good.
All right. Picks in. Hayes and Company.
Let's go, Jags.
New Orleans Saints laying 1.5. I feel better about this pick. I really do. I think the scheduling's tough, and if Lawrence doesn't play, this thing's going to swing way up by kickoff, right? Like if Lawrence ends up pulling the shoe, which I don't think he will, this could be 3.5.
What happens to the number?
Well, the number's locked in. It's at -1.5.
Like how ridiculous is
There's nothing changes. Hey,
this
maybe
guy's
Derek Carr gets sick in the next hour and a
might
half.
not play by the end of this. If Lawrence isn't up, the line will be 6 points, and you're going to be stuck here with 1.5.
That's
but you know
fine.
what? This is a week of separators. He might get tonight. You're going 1-2 this weekend.
I don't see that happening. I'm really starting to see the
Have you seen the games?
Yeah, they're tough games.
I promise you,
I've been dealing with tough games all year. Dude.
No.
All my games are tough games. Every single game you guys get. Layup. Ravens, Tennessee in London. Layup. Jags, Bills in London. Layup. There's a lot of layups. I get, who have I gotten? Pittsburgh, Vegas.
Doogie, it's going to be declared tomorrow the separator week.
Yeah.
All right? So make sure you have it.
1 o'clock to
Pump
4
it up
o'clock,
big
the
time.
Sunday, the Monday nighter, the whole nine. All right, buddy. We'll catch you tomorrow afternoon.
Can't wait.
There's Luke Willson, one half of Team Owen Wilson, who will be saying that Hayes and Company own his show as of what? Monday afternoon or Tuesday, I guess, after the Monday Nighter. It's got to be the complete week.
I think we'll have a pretty good idea on Monday what's going down. Yeah. I think Monday before we make the Monday night pick.
Sure. Yeah, Monday works for me, man.
And you know what the other team has to say.
Yeah.
They own us.
Man, Philly, Miami, Sunday night. Ooh, Kirk Cousins under the lights against San Fran. Who's going to have that Monday night?
Kirk Cousins,
How about
my
the Philly
guy.
Miami game?
That's a crazy game. That's a Sunday nighter. Who's going to have that game?
Believe it'll be you.
You guys will. There's no London game this week.
I'll tell you what.
So we have the one in the Sunday night.
You got the one on the Sunday nighter.
I think my Dolphins are going to trash Philly. That's
I
an
don't know
early
about
thought.
that.
Early
I
thought.
think the Eagles respond after last week, personally, but who knows? We'll see what happens. All right, there he is, Luke Willson, Owen Wilson, Hayes and Company on the Saints tonight. Leafs in action tonight. We'll continue to tee it up. 2 ball games as well. The ALCS continues. NLCS continues. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Leafs-Panthers coming up. Doogie's phone's in the studio.
If you want to text Doogie and ask him for something, his phone's right here.
Yeah, because we got a lot of moving parts today, right? We had Luke come in. We had Pooley come in, so we had the 4th mic set up.
Yeah.
And now they're out.
Yeah.
But O's going to do panel work tonight.
Yeah, so we're a 2-man panel until O comes back and Doogie's moving and shaking.
Yeah.
And he left his phone behind.
There's a lot going on, and he was moving stuff around, and, he left his phone in here. So it's all good. It's all good there, Doogie. And we got a big one coming up. Whit Merrifield's going to join us in a half an hour.
Love it.
So, Whit, we don't believe will be returning to Toronto. I guess it's still a possibility. We'll ask him about that. What does he see happening with his future? But more so, the dust is settled now. When you look back on it, what happened over those 2 games in Minnesota, what do you make of the Barrios to Kikuchi?
You think he would be just like straight shooter honest?
He said after the game on the record.
Well, I remember.
He's like, I don't believe John Schneider. I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of John Schneider didn't make that call.
Right.
So he's an old school guy, Whit Merrifield, man. He's
okay, but
remember
still.
He was earlier this year after the game. He was drinking a beer during his post-game media.
He is an old school guy. I respect that, but he's still, if he wants to come back here, you got to be mindful.
That
right?
is probably true.
You don't want to shoot from the hip and go, hey, I didn't like what was going on. Oh, by the way, I've got negotiating a new deal.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
And after the game,
he was coming back. That's you shoot from the hip.
That is when you really start to just say what's on your mind. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. But
no.
Listen, he had a really good season with Merrifield. Really good season.
Yep.
And we'll see. He's not a young guy, but he's certainly going to continue his career at the major league level. There's no doubting that. And as for the baseball scene last night, Houston kind of did what I think a lot of people thought they would. Went in there, stole the win. Deserved to win. And now it's a series again, right? It's amazing how quickly, one win, you're like, man, it's 2-1. Someone had to be up 2-1. Why not? Reverse psychology. And now if you're Arizona, you're thinking the same thing. You got to win this ball game tonight.
Yeah.
You go down 3-0. It's over.
How tall is Altuve?
I would guess
he's 4 feet tall out there.
5'5" is what they would list him at officially.
He's so tiny.
And I would guess he's shorter than whatever he might be on the MLB website 5'6" or 5'7". They have him listed officially as 5'5", so he's 5'2". Yeah, he's 5'2" or 5'3".
Yeah.
Yeah, he is
He's so tiny.
And yet, the guy's an absolute machine.
Great player.
Yes.
Like, great player.
Truly one of the great players of modern baseball history. And a great playoff performer.
Well, yeah, he comes to play. It's just he's so tiny out there. You're watching him, but he gets it done. It must be tough to pitch to him.
Yeah, he doesn't necessarily crowd the plate, but he's in on the plate. He's
small guy. He's right in there. Like his strike zone would be different. Would it
would be a lower strike zone.
Right,
absolutely. Like him and Aaron Judge would have very different strike zones.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Aaron Judge's strike zone would be the size of that sign back there.
Yeah, like the top of the zone would be at the top of Altuve's head.
Right.
Like he's 6'9".
Yeah, so
like he's looking for a fastball that is higher than Altuve.
Yeah.
Possibly. Like for him to really lean into it.
Knock it out.
Like if there's a fastball, like a rising fastball that he's got his eyes set on, he's probably connecting, and it's at least eye level with Altuve.
Right. So you got to dig it into the dirt to get into his.
Yeah, it's a different strategy. That's the beauty of baseball, though, right? You never know who you're going to face, how locked in they're going to be.
Yeah. Just watching some of that last night. You watch him at the plate, like he's so.
Alvarez
he's so
again last night. Like he's a star. What did he go 2 for 4 last night with a walk? I think.
Impressive.
Like Houston, you knew they weren't going down with a fight. The question is, does Arizona go down with a fight, or do they just kind of roll over at this point? We'll find out tonight for sure. See those pictures circulating of that dump in Gormley, Ontario? I don't know how Gormley became the home of all the seats in the 100 level down at the Dome.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they ripped out the 100 level, and they're working, I believe, underneath the 100 level. They're doing a lot of stuff with like the clubhouse.
I saw that. It just like it looked like a minefield of them.
Yeah, but they just got rid of all the seats, and a lot of people.
Wouldn't you buy one?
Yeah, like I think a lot of people would buy them.
So
like why wouldn't they think to do that?
Didn't they do that for Maple Leaf Gardens?
Yes.
People bought seats.
They auctioned off a lot of seats.
We had on our show. I don't know if that was you and I on Leafs Lunch or you and I on Blue Lunch. We interviewed the guy who bought the crapper.
The toilet in the room.
Yeah, the guy, the toilet from the room.
Yes, from the home room at Maple Leaf Gardens.
It was like a lawyer who paid like $5,000 for it.
Yeah, I think it was more than that, Noodles.
And
it was a bidding. Yes, we had him on. We're like, what the hell? Why would you buy this thing? Is it sanitary? Take us through why you would decide, and why would they put that up for auction?
Yeah, I swear, like that's one of my vivid memories of our early on radio with you and I. Were like staff or whoever said, we've got the guy, or you and I were like, get this guy on. And we got him on, and we were talking about Wendell Clark took a dump in there.
Your thoughts.
And
your thoughts on Wendell.
Remember, he was like, I'm going to put it in my man cave. And I'm like, that's really weird.
I know. It is a really strange item. Like, that's where you would, like, that meant that the Leafs were like, we're selling everything we can. Because you would think there would be some decorum at some point where, like, maybe the toilet is not necessary.
It was everything from the building, though.
But the seats all were sold.
Yes.
And, like, I think a lot of season ticket holders
were able to buy their seat.
Yes, I'm pretty sure they had the inside track, which you would think the Blue Jays, now maybe they did this with some of the seats. Maybe there was something behind it. They just felt like it had to go. There was a timeline.
Probably timeline.
And where else are you going to put them? If you're auctioning them, where the Gardens wasn't being, like, renovated or demolished or anything. Eventually, it got adjusted quite significantly now. But I guess when they were moving from the Gardens to the ACC at the time, I'm sure they had time to do that. Where the Blue Jays are dealing with a time-sensitive situation here.
Right.
But I would think if you were in the 100 level and you've been sitting in that seat for 30 years, you were sitting there when Joe Carter hit his home run, you'd probably want to buy that seat.
Yeah. I think it'd be awesome.
I think that's the kind of stuff that fans would love. Or it's easier said than done, but give it away to people. Right. I think that'd be a really cool thing to have. Like JP just said, his dad's got was that a seat at the Maple Leaf Gardens that your dad has, JP?
Yeah, so he has a seat. I don't know the full details of it, but he has a seat from Maple Leaf Gardens. I used to sit on it all the time as a kid. I love that thing.
Oh, they're so comfortable.
Is it in the, like, where is it? Does he still have it? Is it in the garage? Is it in the living room?
He's got it just at the basement of his house. He's still holding on to it. He's cherishes that thing.
Oh, you have to, man.
That's super cool.
What color was it? Was it a
blue seat? Blue seat.
Oh, the blues. That's great. That's behind the net.
You know, you know that.
Like, I grew up in the greens a lot. The grays, the gritty grays were the best.
Is that up top?
That's as high as you could go, the grays.
The grays.
Yeah, and it used to be the golds were the lowest you could go. Then now they have platinums. indigolds, reds, greens, and now purple, I think.
Wow.
But yeah, the Blues, I'm pretty sure.
I think there probably could
net.
have been something done with that. You're right. Like, it might have been a time crunch, like, hey, we're clearing all of these out and let's get them out of here. But it would have been neat to see. Now, given where the Blue Jays are in their popularity right now, they might have had a plan and go, scrap it. We don't need to be out there for anything.
Yeah, and I guess it may look like, you're trying to make more money. Is that kind of what you're looking for here? Or,
but you certainly could have done it for charity. Say, hey, we're gonna sell these seats for $50 each, and the proceeds are going to charity X.
Well, someone I guess sent this is our buddy Joe from the Bridge found this, that season ticket holders were offered seats for free if they owned seats since 1977. So in other words, if you were like an inaugural season ticket holder, how many people would have owned them from 77 up into 2023? Like 5 people? That doesn't seem that charitable. I mean, I would hope you'd be willing to give the guy who has been paying you for 100 level seats since Exhibition Stadium existed. Like, that goes before the Dome. The Dome opened in 89. If you own seats 12 years before the Dome even existed, we're willing to give you those for free. And then I guess someone wrote that others were offered to buy their pair of repurposed seats for $750.
Well, that's...
Now, I can't confirm or deny that that's true, but that is what someone has been saying online.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
It seems like a lot of money for seats you're going to dump out anyway.
Yeah, like you can drive out to Gormley or whatever.
Yeah, like if I'm living in Gormley, I'm go grab some seats. I'll bet you someone's going in there saying, I will take a bunch of these.
And then I'm going to repurpose them and sell them.
Absolutely. I'll bet you the Jays are furious that it got out. That's probably why they sent it to Gormley. Can't be down the lakeshore. People in Toronto will be like, look at these seats.
Yeah. Did you read Frankie's note here?
No. Frankie Corrado?
Yes. He wrote to you and I, the guy who bought the toilet seat from the Gardens is my buddy's dad. So friend of a friend's dad.
Okay.
He just texted me and said his buddy's dad, his dad still has it. And his name is Jim, and he lives in Barrie. So there's the toilet from the Maple Leaf Gardens dressing room
is still
it's in Barrie.
It was in the Leafs room. Yeah, it was okay. That kind of rings a bell. The guy was a GTA. I guess that's a little bit outside of the GTA, but so he must just be a huge, obviously Leaf fan, but historian, and he's a.
But that's not a historian.
What is he, a dietitian or something?
Yeah,
what does that guy do for a living? Got to have the toilet. So I don't want
proctologist. That's the only thing. He's the ass man.
Yes.
Kramer. Like, that's what it is. Because you can't have anything else. I don't know why. Like, that doesn't that just like
it just seems so. It just seems like the weirdest
with a hazmat
icebreaker.
Suit? Yeah.
Like, I could never imagine telling my wife.
Yeah.
Listen, I will stay at the door and wait for Amazon packages for the rest of time. But you need to do me one favor.
Yeah.
A toilet's on its way.
Yes. It's wrapped.
Open the door and get that thing inside.
I'm at work. I got.
Yeah.
By the way, it cost me $10,000.
$10,000.
We're not going on vacation.
For the record, it's not a toilet we're using. It's from the Gardens. Wendell sat on it and Dougie Gilmore at one point, and I really, really want it badly.
Aki Berg.
Yeah.
It's just that
Aki Berg.
Aki Berg took a move.
That's even better. Forget Dougie Gilmore, Wendell Clark. Randy Wood was on that thing at one point. I need old, like, ridiculous Maple Leafs.
If there was a list of like how many,
I don't know if Aki would have been at the Gardens. I think Aki came after 99.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
Mike Johnson, Johnny would have been in there.
Todd Gill. Yep. MJ, that's true.
MJ would have been there. Yep, for sure.
It's just a very unique. I mean, it's a conversation starter. We've been talking about it for 10 minutes already. So there you go.
Yeah.
But it's just that's
so.
One that's a little bit rich for me.
Yeah, that one really is strange.
You have to have like throwaway money to buy the crapper from the Gardens. Like, you have to be filthy rich.
Yes. I still can't believe that if you were a ticket holder from 1977 onward, we'll throw in a seat. We're getting rid of them anyway.
Yeah.
So what if you imagine in 78, you waited the inaugural season. You moved to Toronto in 70, the winter of 77 into 78, immediately jumped on.
And you're not eligible.
Hey, can I get
$750 for these? But that
you can pay us $750 if you want. Oh, really? I've been a ticket holder for 45 years.
Oh.
No, Gary, he was in here from day one down at Exhibition Stadium. That's amazing. Like, I could understand it if it was day one from 89 onward. Like, if you were in those seats in particular when the Dome opened.
Yeah.
But you got to go back to day one of the existence of this team.
I
for you
don't
to
know.
get
That's
a freebie.
bit of a miss. I don't.
That
I want
seems
more
like something-
context to this.
I want more. I want to believe that there's more to it. than
yes,
that.
I think there is.
We'll ask Whit Merrifield if he knows the answer
Oh my
on that.
God! Can you imagine if they offered him a seat?
Yeah. Hey, Whit, you played over a year here in Toronto. Did
Signing
you get
bonus.
yourself a seat?
I would love it.
Yes. Whit Merrifield in about 20 minutes. Pierre LeBrun still to come as well. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, TSN 1050's Leafs lineup is your chance to win Leaf tickets every week, all season long. Every weekday, we will announce a current or former Maple Leaf player, and on Fridays, you'll have a chance to call in and name that Leaf. Name the Leaf lineup of the week, I should point out. Name all the players in the lineup, and you'll score a pair of tickets to an upcoming Leaf game. Today's player, this guy would have been doing his thing at Maple Leaf Gardens.
In Jim's toilet.
Yes, he would have been in Frankie's buddy's dad's
Toilet from Barry.
toilet that is now up in Barrie that used to be in Maple Leaf Gardens. Today's player is Gary Lehman. Gary Lehman, one of only 4 Maple Leafs ever to score 50 goals.
I played with Gary. He's a good guy.
This week, we're giving away a pair of tickets to see Leafs Kings Halloween night. Yeah, Gary Lehman, man. That's Dave Andrechuk, Gary Lehman, Rick Five, Austin Matthews.
It's
Only
still insane.
4
In
guys to
100
ever
years.
score 50.
In 100 years,
Yep.
you've had 4 guys, which
Yeah.
it still boggles my mind.
And the 4 of them, like Rick Five scored 50 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
But they all would have been within a 10-year span.
Yeah, they were.
Like from 83 to 93.
Yeah,
they all would have
they're
happened.
recent. They're not a guy from 1943 or
Right.
1960 or whatever. Like it is weird. Like
Yeah.
that would be a great poll question moving forward. Is there anybody else that can get 50
On the Leafs?
on the Leafs? Not like, will there be in the next 10 years?
I mean, I don't think Nylander's a 50-goal scorer. I don't think he ever does in his career. But is he capable of getting hot and scoring a bunch of goals?
Right.
Like, John Tavares has never scored 50 in his career.
He's just
a 35 to 40 goal scorer, 80-point guy every year. It's the same thing.
Yeah, very
like since he's been in Toronto, he's been a point a game and basically the same season every single year.
which is all you can
is
ask
really
for at
impressive.
$11 million in year 5.
Yes.
Right?
Like, is it worth $11 million? Not anymore, but it's not worth $4 million.
Right.
Right? Like he has not been a guy where you say, man, he's killing them
Right.
at that. Like John Tavares consistently plays. And at some point, like that's going to have to, we were talking about Ottawa earlier this afternoon. If they get this Pinto kid signed, you go Stützle into Norris into Pinto for 7 or 8 years. Like
Right.
you are locked in up the middle of the ice. Those are guys who are established NHLers on term, ready to rock.
Right.
You got Matthews who's here, and he is your number 1 center for the next 5-6 years minimum.
Right.
John Tavares has got a year left after this. Then who knows?
Right.
Then what? Like, now this is a story for a different day.
Right.
But at some point, like the Leafs
That's
have
not
got to
locked
find,
in.
you
Yeah.
got to find players coming up the middle of the ice.
Right.
You got to find depth. You got to, it's
That is true.
all
Like,
got to be a part of the program.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing is, Ottawa's in a different spot, and they took I don't want to say great risk, but they locked in all of their guys. Like
Yeah.
everyone's, they've got their goalie on term, they've got their D on term, and they've got their forwards that they covet on term. Now they got to go. Now you got to figure out if they can grow into a playoff team, into a championship team, all of that. The Leafs, they're in win now mode, but it is win now as far as window because Tavares has 2 years left, correct?
He's got this year and next.
Yeah. And, Matthew signed the extension. Willie is up in the air. Figure that out.
Feels like it's moving in that direction. Like Chris Johnston, I think, was saying recently,
I saw
CJ, that he's a really big believer that William Nylander wants to stay here, only wants to play here. Now that I'm sure is true. I don't dispute that. William Nylander has never been anything but open about that he loves it here, wants to stay here. But business is business.
Right.
If the Leafs aren't going to pay or if the Leafs decide to go in a different direction, that kind of stuff, until it's actually signed,
Right.
it's all hearsay at this point, or it's all niceties. But CJ, adamant, it's going to happen.
Yeah, he said
Nylander-
90% he felt like it was going to happen,
Yes.
which is a good sign. Like that means the messaging coming out of whoever's camp is that, hey, it's somewhat
It's amicable.
Positive. Yeah, we're
it's
okay.
positive. It'll
Okay.
work out. And the Leafs aren't shortchanging him. The Leafs might be offering him 8.75, but it's not like they're offering him,
Yeah.
barely a raise on the
Same
$6.9
salary as
million
last
or
year,
something. Yeah, exactly. Like they're going to give him a raise.
He'll be fine.
The term, we'll see what it turns out to be. But if Tree Living immediately signs Matthews, signs Nylander, Marner's got 2 more years left. You would assume that probably happens at some point. Maybe not. But like if you're putting all your eggs into those baskets again, that is everything else he's got to figure out.
Yep.
Right? Because players are going to be coming and going. And
well, it'll make it a lot easier if the bottom of your roster gets going.
Yes, big time. Yes.
All right, you got opportunity tonight.
Leafs Panthers tonight on TSN 4. We'll tee it up in the final hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 soon to be up on TSN 2.